Combined with the new RS3 Mini, the Sony ZV-E10 becomes a low-light contender. Normally, unless you're shooting on a tripod, I would say you basically can't even use this camera in low light. That's not because the sensor is bad. The sensor is actually great, but the ZV-E10 has no stabilization at all. In the daytime, that's actually not a deal breaker. If you use a higher shutter speed, and I know filmmakers will fight me for saying that, stabilizing shaky footage works pretty well. Check out this footage of me driving a golf cart. Yeah, it's moving around kind of a lot, but this was shot handheld from another golf cart in front of it. Here's the source footage. Here's what it looked like before stabilizing. There was a guy in a cart in front of me. We were on a beach and he was shooting at 85 millimeters handheld with this camera. It was an A7S III. But since it was shot at like 1/2000 shutter speed, each frame was super crisp, so Final Cut Pro can just move the screen all over the place to match the movement and flatten it out. With the ZV-E10 handheld at a higher shutter speed and with a lot of light, you can turn on the active steady shot, which is Sony's software stabilization. It'll do a pretty good job, just not nearly as good a job as with the gimbal. But when you shoot at like a 1/50 or 1/60 shutter speed, that's when you get all the weird wobbly artifacts in the sides of the screen. Anyway, because all of that is true, shooting in low light with this camera and no stabilization is a bummer. Unless you're on a tripod. The world would just be a better place if you could stay at 1/50. Then comes along this little technological wonderkind, this tiny little engineering marvel. This little gimbal is really light. This camera is really light. In fact, this gimbal with this camera and lens on it is lighter than my A7 IV with just a 24-70 and no gimbal. And as far as smoothness between these two things, there's no comparison. The one with the gimbal's gonna win. It's an unfair comparison, but first off, here's some footage from my A7S III handheld on a bicycle on a road. This is what you get for $3,500 plus a $1,300 lens. I'm shooting with the 14-24 2.8. It's got a bit of the Casey Neistat aesthetic. The shaking and jerking makes everything feel faster and more energetic, but it's not very smooth. And again, you're looking at $5,000 of gear. But with this combo, it's lighter, it's about a quarter of the cost. And here I am bicycling around downtown Orlando. This footage might as well be coming out of a drone. Also, did you even know there was a downtown Orlando? I didn't before I moved here. We've got a whole little city with pizza places and a comedy club, banks, the whole thing. This is shot through the ZV-E10 with a 10-18 millimeter lens on it. I think somewhere right in the middle, like 13 millimeters. No stabilization turned on. I didn't use any in the edit. Although I can add it through Final Cut Pro, it'll get even smoother. This actually looks better than I expected. I'm on a pedal bike. This isn't an electric bike. Then onto the ZV-E10 with its active steady shot and no gimbal. I'm just holding it with one of these little tiny tripods. This is just a software steady shot that uses these gyroscopes built into this camera, so it knows which way it's shaking and it can move the picture around to counteract the shake. It's actually better than I thought it would be, but because of the active steady shot, that means it has to punch in on the picture, and it's still pretty jittery. With this smoothness of the gimbal comes the ability to use slower shutter speeds and lower ISO settings to end up with better looking nighttime footage. I took this combo back out after the sun went down to shoot under the cover of darkness. This gimbal literally turns this camera into a legitimate low light contender. I'm shooting here at 1/50 shutter speed, and it looks really nice and really smooth. I did hop off my bike and walk around a bit because really, who's shooting from a bicycle with the gimbal? I figured I'd go as cliche as possible and find a train track to walk down. This is steady shot off. It's nighttime. I have ISO on auto. Someone's walking at me, that's awkward. 14 millimeters. Then this is steady shot off, gimbal on. Yeah, no steady shot, all the same camera settings. So this is the difference the gimbal makes without using steady shot while walking at night in a city that's not that well lit in this particular spot. Ooh, look, someone's running by. I also took this with me over to Epcot at Disney World with Sarah to walk around a little bit. I should have brought a different lens. This one only goes down to f4, so the ISO is cranked up to like 8,000 for most of these shots. But as far as stabilization goes, this thing makes using the ZV-E10 at night while in motion a possibility. Surely if you own this camera, you've tried to walk around and shoot anything at night. It's really hard to make it look good. So I gaff taped a laser beam to the top of the lens and then tried to hold this camera as steady as I could, shooting all the way across the room. Then I put it on the gimbal and did the same shot. I think it's pretty clear to tell which one was handheld, which one was on the gimbal. I like this test. Even something as simple as taking product shot B-roll handheld with the ZV-E10, even in really good lighting, is kind of hard to make it not shaky. Maybe I've got shakier than normal hands, but that doesn't matter if I use this thing. This is entirely anecdotal because why on earth would you ever use this particular combination of equipment? But technically, this gimbal is capable of handling a 70-200 G Master mounted to a ZV-E10, and it's remarkably smooth, which allows you to get these really parallaxical shots, because I'm sure that's a word. Shooting with a super long lens on a gimbal is really cool though. It's really hard too. But the fact that it can handle the weight of this lens is, I mean, that's pretty sweet. Not very practical. but pretty sweet. And finally, this is a bit of a weird way to take photographs, but sometimes you have to get clever to get the photographs you want with the equipment that you have. If you use the ZV-E10 on top of the RS3 Mini, you can take really low light photographs with a super slow shutter by using a 2-second timer and then just holding the gimbal really still. I shot a few things around the train tracks over downtown using this method, and this camera with no stabilization, shutter speed at like 1/20, 1/10.